Welcome, everyone. I'm Katia Vlachos. I'm a reinvention coach and author of Uncaged, The Good Girl's Journey to Reinvention. And I help accomplished women who haven't yet achieved everything they desire go after what they want in the next chapter of their lives. Today, I am joined by Fiorella, Larissa, Erni, who is a professional negotiator and founder and CEO of a vegan high heel brand called Cheetah Stories. And we're going to talk about making bold asks and negotiating boldly for yourself as a woman. So welcome, Larissa and Larissa. Welcome, Fiorella. I did it. And would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your business?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Katia, and thank you for inviting me. So I'll make it short on the background, and then we can dig a bit deeper when we go about talking about negotiation. But in a nutshell, I come from Switzerland. I have done the first part of my life in the humanitarian field. I worked for the International Committee of the Red Cross, and then worked in several countries over the Middle East and also in Africa. And of course, as a humanitarian worker, you're engaged in negotiations every day. You're negotiating with armed actors, with civilian authorities to get aid across checkpoints, to bring protection to people, and to support affected communities. Later, I really took this part of negotiation and specialized in it and worked at a center in Geneva that trains humanitarian frontline workers, diplomats, NGO staff, UN staff in high stakes negotiation. And I think one thing that became apparent for me is one thing is negotiation skills, it's preparation, but it's also the way you show up. And for me, I always showed up in high heels because they gave you this confidence you need to face impossible situations. And this is also where the idea was coming from to build my own high heel brand that aligns with my values. So it's a vegan brand, it's ethically produced, but also has a bit of woman's comfort in mind so that we don't have to suffer when standing tall. So this is where the idea was coming from. I now took this to the private sector. I work as a professional negotiator. I also do a lot of negotiation training, specifically also for women, because women are fabulous negotiators when it's negotiating for others and a complete disaster when it comes to negotiating for yourself. So I think I'm really excited
Just
also
say it like it is.
exactly. And I'm really excited to explore this with you, Katia, because I think it's such an important point, which is also why we launched the Stand Tall community around the brand, encouraging women to stand tall, both literally and figuratively.
Our mission's very much aligned. That's why I'm really excited to dive in with you. So, like you said, you've trained diplomats, UN personnel, NGO staff, and now you also train a lot of women. You also do corporate negotiation training. It's funny because after I had invited you, I saw this blog post you wrote with the title 10 Negotiation Tips for Bold Women. And I was like, you can't make this up. So, you mentioned a self-awareness exercise that you do in your workshops, where people have to, I think, rate themselves as negotiators, and men consistently rate themselves as perfect negotiators right away in a very short time, whereas women take a bit longer and they carefully, weigh their strengths and weaknesses. So, what does that tell us or tell you about what stops women from making bold asks in negotiations?
Mhm. So the self-awareness exercise you're referring to, and it's actually really interesting and powerful negotiation tools. I just go a bit into it because we can take that with us later as well. The idea is when you negotiate before you meet someone, you reflect on how might this other person perceive me and my ask. And you reflect on what are the different sources of legitimacy I might have in the eyes of the counterpart. So there are different things that count. That might be your institution or the title that you have. It might be your competence on a specific subject. It can be your identity. So that can be your gender, your nationality, your age, your adaptability and the ability to connect with others, and your network of influence to who you know. So in this exercise, we think of a negotiation that we've had and we reflect, okay, so thinking of all these sources of legitimacy, on which source might the counterpart see it as something positive, and where could it be a liability? Like, where does it maybe not land so well on the counterpart? And this is where we have this gender difference, right? Because for men who are not trained in negotiation, very often it's like, no, actually, everything about myself probably lands well with the counterpart. And that makes them very bold, like having very bold
Mm.
asks, of course, but it does not necessarily make them efficient because of this lack of self-awareness. Now, women do this one thing that makes them brilliant negotiators because they actually carefully weigh, okay, so here maybe that's a strong point, that's a weak point. So let me tone up the strong point and dial down the weak point. And that makes you really, really good negotiator. I think where the challenge is coming from, and this becomes a barrier when doing this evaluation, they fall into this hyper self-criticism where they're just unable to see anything great in any of these sources and feel like, but here maybe not 100% and here maybe not 100%. And then suddenly it gets into questioning your whole legitimacy in the eyes of the other side, which prevents you from making bold asks or positioning yourself. So I think here the message is, by all means, evaluate all your sources of legitimacy and really play to it. Sometimes if you're underestimated because of your identity, because you're a woman, that's great. You can use this even against the other side to surprise them. But know your weakness, know your strength, and then know how you can also make a weakness or turn a weakness into a strength.
Right. And maybe try to take a little distance because we do, like you said, we do tend to overestimate those weaknesses. Maybe try to take a little distance and try to be a little more objective, about, what you're bringing to the table, right? Appreciating what you're bringing to the table. Okay, so there's the self-assessment, right? The self-awareness that can stand in the way. But you've also written about how women feel like their legitimacy may be questioned in negotiations, especially, I don't know, when asking for a raise, and where, like, for entrepreneurs like me, like when pricing the services, or even like renegotiating responsibilities and at home. So, um, how does a woman make a bold ask when she's already doubting whether she's legitimate, whether she has the right, whether she deserves to ask boldly?
Yeah, for me, what I'm observing, and I think that's like the core issue is that women simply don't value themselves accurately. And that for me has two sources. One thing is that we take our natural strength for granted. Like when you're genuinely good at something, it doesn't feel remarkable, it just feels normal.
Mm.
So when we're asked to reflect about our skills, we tend to focus on skills that were hard work to acquire, that cost us an effort, because this become obvious skills. And that really creates a distorted picture, because that means we only count what came with a struggle where we're not maybe naturally really good at. And things that come easily are our greatest gifts. And by us, they get discounted entirely. And then you have a friend, you're like, you're very good at that. And you're like, what, me? Everyone can do that. So I think that's a first problem in the self-evaluation. And the second one, and you talk a lot about this, Katia, I think women are really raised or wired to preserve harmony, to keep the peace, to hold the community together, to not rock the boat, behold. So bold asks feel like a threat to that. And underneath it's this very specific fear, like, what might people think of me? So a strategy that I have developed for myself and that I also share in my workshop is like a simple three-step benchmark. First, I reflect, okay, what would I think is reasonable? Then I look at others in comparable situations across genders, what they are asking for, what they think is reasonable. And then, and this is the key step, I ask one of those really, really bold men, like, what would you ask for? And then I'm like, okay. And then my first reflection when I hear it is like, oh my God, that's outrageous. But then I remind myself, actually, I'm just as good as he is. Maybe I'm even better. So I ask for exactly the same thing that the boldest man would ask for. And here's what I found. I usually get it because it wasn't outrageous at all. Society doesn't think it's outrageous. The only person who thought it was too much with me. And we talk ourselves small. And the moment we stop doing that, everything changes.
Right, exactly. We censor ourselves before we even like before others get the chance to say
Uh,
like what will people say, right? We do it ourselves. We can protect ourselves. And everything you describe, I mean, it's all conditioning. It's all the stories we hear, having to work hard, like something is valuable only if you work hard for it. That's a story, right? Or yeah, I mean that's actually fascinating how it shows up in negotiations, of course, right? So can you walk us through it? Like what is like, and you said a little bit about how you do it, like a woman who wants to, what does a bold ask actually sound like? Is there such a thing? Are we kind of creating it in our minds or yeah.
mm. I think once you know what you want to ask for, the core thing is understanding the other side. Because making a bold ask is not just about courage, it's about strategy on how this bold ask would land. And there, I think, is also a bit of a struggle because then sometimes we work ourselves like, okay, I'm going to make this bold ask, and we walk in and we just drop a bomb, and then it doesn't go well. So we go back to our little cave. And I think really working on this strategy, thinking about the other side is really helpful. I think one of the most common ways for women to talk themselves out of making a bold ask is like rehearsing the scenario in their head. And in this scenario, they always lose before they
Mm,
know how the person actually feels. So a first step is to set that story aside and to make a genuine assessment on the other side. What are their objectives? What is at stake for them? How might your ask land emotionally? Are there underlying fears or maybe even pressures they might be facing externally for granting what you're asking for? And all this you need to know before you enter the room. When you understand all of
mm,
that, you can present your ask in a way that connects with who they really are. Because in the end, everyone wants to see themselves as a good and a fair person. So, for instance, instead of launching straight in what you want, you can anchor it. You can anchor it in their values. So, for instance, you would say something, Mark, I know that you value fairness above everything else, which is why
mm.
exactly I'm coming to you with this. Now, for Mark, it will be very hard to go back on not being a fair person once you anchored him as a fair person. And
Right.
also, for instance, you might actually understand that hey, they have legitimate risks by granting you a raise or a promotion, and you cannot ignore them, but you can, for instance, name them head on. So another phrase in that sentence you could, for instance, use, I can see how this might raise questions on the board level. So you address it before they address it. And this is how I suggest we frame it. So you already help the other side negotiating on your behalf. And so for this is what bold looks like in practice. The ask, of course, is direct and unapologetic, but it's delivered in a way that shows clarity, self-worth, but genuine understanding of the other side. And you actually help the other side make it happen for you. That's not manipulation, that's negotiation in the end.
Right. And it sounds to me like something we do really well as women, which is to understand the other side, to have the empathy, right? To understand their values, like you say, their interests, the pressures they're under. It's actually a superpower which we can use to our advantage, right? And I also want to highlight like there's a difference between understanding the other side and I don't want to say I don't want to say sucking up to the other side, but you know what I mean? Not from my position of weakness. It's more like, okay, I understand, but I'm still gonna make my
Yeah,
bold ask. I'm not like making excuses for you, but I'm connecting with you. I have empathy. I'm still gonna make my ask,
yeah. Yeah, no,
right?
no, absolutely. It's not at all to then retreat when understanding that for the other side it might be an issue. It's really more a way to help them understand what you're actually asking for and how it could be a good thing for them as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So your work revolves along a lot around standing tall, right? Both literally and figuratively. So, what does it actually mean for a woman to stand tall when she's making a bold ask in a
Mm.
negotiation?
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned it. So for me, it's literal and figuratively speaking. So the first is really very physical. It's like the head up, shoulders back, and in my case, I throw on my heels. But I don't know if you've noticed that, Katia, but how many tall women do you see slouching or make themselves
Mm,
small or not really having a tall posture? They don't want to take up too much space. Or how many women say, I don't wear heels because my partner doesn't like it when I'm taller. So that's not a shoe preference, it's a posture of apology. And when you walk into a negotiation physically shrinking, you signal doubt before you even said a word. So standing
mm,
tall means walking in like you belong there, like your ask is reasonable, like you're not sorry for being in the room. And that really changes how you're received. It makes such a difference how you're received when you walk in tall and people actually notice you as a legitimate negotiation counterpart. And the second dimension is really internal. It means making this bold ask without quietly undermining your own worth while making it. And it also means, I think, if the answer is no, if that employer, that partner, that friend cannot meet you where you are, well, then it also means having the courage to walk away because maybe it's just the wrong fit and maybe we shouldn't try so hard to make a situation fit if it's not what we really want, what we look for, and what we ask for, I think it's really this courage to walk away and let others know I'm ready to walk away. So it's knowing your red line and
mm.
holding that red line. And that's the real ask underneath of all others. You make the ask for yourself and you stop shrinking. And for me, this is exactly why I launched a high heel brand and the Stand Tall community together. Because one thing is feeling good in your body, standing tall physically, but then also being surrounded by a community of women who inspire each other to do exactly that.
Right. And we know how powerful that is,
Yeah,
right? It's seeing others doing what you're doing and
yeah.
lifting you up literally and figuratively and supporting you. That makes a huge difference. So I want to hear more about your community. I have one last question, which is around we often, as women, wait for permission, wait to be given permission by others, by ourselves. And in negotiation, what would that look like? And I'm talking about, waiting for something to be appropriate or right or acceptable or yeah, feeling like we deserve to ask for something. How can you shift from I'll ask for this if it feels appropriate or if it seems appropriate to I'm asking because I deserve this?
Yeah. So you've already mentioned a bit, it means waiting until the moment feels right, just that that moment never comes. I think in
Mm,
negotiation, it starts with phrase like, I just wanted to check. I don't know if this is the right time or not, but I just wanted to see if maybe you will never make a bold ask after such an opening statement, right? So that is
mm,
again, a question of how to deliver the ask. But the other thing, for me, I see it a bit in a way, let's say in a professional environment, everyone has a standing invitation to ask for more. It's like you have a standing invitation to someone's house, but then you never go because you haven't been invited. Now, the person was like, well, you have a standing invitation. If you don't come, I assume you don't want it.
mm,
But for us women, it kind of feels like I don't have an invitation. So probably they don't want me there. So I'm not going. But what I'm saying, the way it should look like, it's like, okay, I have a standing invitation. I know a party is happening. I throw on my heels, I throw on my best outfit. I go there, I make an entrance, and I'm the one that everyone has a good time with. And that is the shift, right? You invite yourself. And if you don't have the courage to go yourself, you ask a friend to go with you. And that for me, like if we translate it back to work, is finding your mentor, your internal advocate, someone in the company that helps you get into the right room and show up for this party. So this is the move from I'll ask if it seems appropriate to I'm asking because I know I deserve it. I know I'm good at it. And I know everyone will have a good time when I am there. And the point is, everyone else is asking. The only question is, are you ready to join them or are you just sitting there waiting to be invited? And no, no one will invite you. That's really on you to show up.
Yeah, 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 exactly. It's a decision that you belong there,
Mm.
right? And you get to take that decision. You're not going to
Yeah,
be asked.
exactly.
Like you said, I love what you said about the what you say about there's a standing invitation. I
Mm.
think that that also helps with the mindset shift.
Mhm.
You know, it's happening. Do you want to be part of it, or do you want to just wait on the sidelines and wait for the right time and
Yeah.
all that? Yeah, yeah. No, this is brilliant. So I want to hear about your community, Stand Tall, and for the women watching, for the woman watching who knows she wants to get bolder in asking for what she wants. So tell us about your purpose in creating it, and how can women join?
Yeah, with pleasure. And of course, we'd love to have more women joining. So Stand Tall, as I've mentioned, it's the community behind our high heel brand, and it lives at this intersection of conscious luxury and self-expression. So the idea is how you dress or how you negotiate your worth, they are not separate things. They're both statements about how you see yourself. We talked just before we came on about the choice of color. I love Katia. You show up in pink. You already make a statement, right? I am here. I'm Katia. I'm great. And I'm making my ask. So on the one side, of course, we create heels, but not just any heels. We create heels that are crafted from cruelty-free materials that are not built on exploitation, because as we know very well, fashion and luxury, even there, it's often women and animals who bear the cost of the supply chain. So we wanted to make something you could feel genuinely good standing tall inside and outside without harming others in the supply chain. And on the other side is this community, because confidence isn't built alone. So in the Stand Tall community, we bring women around together around the belief that negotiation skills and mutual support are actually what makes you bold. So every month we run online sessions around different negotiation topics where we give some input how you can improve your negotiation skills, and then also practice it with peers in the group. We will be launching a podcast very soon where we talk exactly around self-expression, about holding your boundaries, around standing tall. We interview inspiring women. I'm offering a few one-on-one negotiation coaching to selected members who want to go deeper. And then, of course, there are the on-site events where we present our collection and have conversation with bold women around non-negotiables or the non-negotiables in their life. So if you love high heels and you're ready to stop making yourself smaller, that's probably the community that you'd want to join, and everyone can sign up on our website, and then we continue the conversation.
Wonderful. So I'll provide the link when we release this, and very exciting. And you have both a virtual and a an in-person element, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So of course we're international, so that's the online part.
I
But
was
then
going to ask,
key
yeah.
fashion cities, starting with Europe, will also have in-person events, of course, where people can also see the new collection. They can discover alternative materials to leather, and then have just genuine conversations. Often we're also inviting personal stylists who really help also on that side, on the confidence building, so that everything sits just right to be the person you want to be.
Exactly. And so yeah, and you know what it also makes me think is being maybe in the past, we kind of hesitate to connect something like external appearance and style and dressing and colors and all that with the more professional, like intellectual aspects of our work, and well, unless it's a black suit, so I love how we're starting as women to be unapologetic about actually valuing that other side as well, because they both come together and they both support each other, and they're part of who we are. Like, I don't think we should kind of separate these
Yeah,
things. So I love how you do that. I love how you do that as a person. I love how you do that in your work. So it's been fascinating. Thank you so much for this
you
great
do, Katia.
conversation.
Thank you
Can't
very
wait
much
to
for
release
having
it.
me.
It's been wonderful to have you, and your community sounds amazing. So I wish you all the best with this new chapter.
Thank you so much. Let's continue the conversation.
Absolutely.